going into the air we breathe that we cannot smell? What are the long-term effects on the public's health and our environment from the abundance of methane and other landfill gases dumping into the air we breathe, or the runoff of sewage sludge and leachate into the ground and waters? These materials carry with it the remains of some scary things. Dangerous chemicals, pharmaceuticals like antibiotics, maybe cancer treatment drugs, or artificial hormones, radioactive materials we're hearing, just to name a few things. What are the long-term effects of these products getting into our ground and water? The answer is we don't know, because no local studies have been done to find out. Whatever effect those effects are, they're about to be exacerbated by the eventual expansion of this landfill. Which brings me to my next point. There are 275 beautiful acres of wilderness on the line with proposed rezoning and expansion. 275 acres of tree cover and wildlife that stand to be lost, while the members of our township council look the other way and allow the landfill to skeet past standard zoning processes and do as they please without regard for what is destroyed in the wake of its expansion. The landfill states on its website that it is community-driven and focused on sustainability. If you look up sustainability in Google, here's what you will find. Sustainability consists of fulfilling the needs of current generations without compromising the needs of future generations, while ensuring a balance between economic growth, environmental care, and social well-being. So I ask you today, what about the future? What about the health? What about our health and the health of the environment we're leaving behind for our children and future generations? If our community's current and future well-being...
I need to interrupt you. Your 3 minutes are up. You can just wrap up this thought, please.
Yes.
Thank you.
If our community's current and future well-being truly is your mission, then I urge you to listen to what your community is telling you, because from what I can see, the only ones you're interested in is sustaining yourselves. Thank you.
My name is Mark Ozmek, M-A-R-K, O-Z-I-M-E-K. I live at 2589 Reddington Road, across from Ginger's Horse Farm. And I did not write anything. I do not write anything. I stomp around my house, my 4 floors, because it pisses me off that you would even consider this. Even that the dump would even consider this. Even that the city of Bethlehem would sell them the land, the hill climb would sell them the land, and whatever else went on behind wherever doors are, that let this get to this point and let it happen. And like some other people heard me say, I think there's more to this than rezoning. By opening up this door, I think it's going to open the door for them to get to the railroad so that they can train in garbage from New York and New Jersey. They wanted access if you paid attention to them when they were EISI, whatever they were, they talked about it back then. Now they mysteriously changed their name, and I bet they still want the same thing. We don't want that. We don't need garbage from New York. We don't need garbage from New Jersey. If you want to do anything, restrict the dump to Pennsylvania East Coast garbage. Period. Slow it down. But as far as this goes, this is just nonsense. You know? Because there's more than just, oh, he's one of them people out that road. If you can remember saying that to me. At Steel City Fire Hall, when it was time to vote. And I voted for it, thinking I'd give a decent guy a chance. So don't sit here and stab us all in the back. I guess that's it. But just remember, this is bigger than what they want, or what they're letting on to.
Thank you, sir. M-I-S-C-Z-E-N-S-K-I. Please state your first and last name and spelling for the board.
Sure, it's Stacy, S-C-A-C-I-E, is that M-I-S-C-Z-E-N-S-K-I.
Thank you, please proceed.
Sure. So, council has not provided us with an adequate meeting space so that you can serve your appointed residents that you're supposed to serve. And I applaud one council member for identifying all the studies council has disregarded to get one party, a landfill, into a position it needs to take over the land and do what that one party does best, which is police land. The residential properties were properly zoned initially, so they just need to be left alone. Leave them as they are. Your site plans are vital, as well as land development plans. And they each have their own value. So for you to sit there and to just disregard them, they're there for a reason, and they all need to stay there. Regulations are there, the EPA is there for a reason. This zoning cannot happen. I oppose the zoning. No land in this township is as much of a high priority natural greenway as the one you want one party to have the opportunity to pollute. They cannot replace this land. No dollar value can be associated with the land that they're about to pollute. I oppose the landfill. I oppose rezoning 275 acres of high priority natural land for a landfill. Thank you.
ETI.
My name is Michael Buetti, B-U-E-T-I, M-I-K-E-R-N-I-C-H, so where you want to start. I'm a member of Steel City, resident of Steel City. Hello, old neighbors of Lower Saucon Valley. I was at the meeting of Steel City Mennonite Church. It was a great presentation, chock full of fact, loaded with strong evidence proving that tax revenue is no reason to support this cancer growing in our township, the landfill. Before I introduce some more facts, let me first introduce myself. Like I said, my name. I'm a special educator and a regular education teacher for a combined 15 years now. I'm a U.S. Marine, the oath never ends, a husband, a father of 3 sons, and an author. I moved here to beautiful Steel City, an emerald in the crown of Lower Saucon, just a few months ago, on July 4th, 2022. Greatest coincidence for me was that I left the state of dying freedom, the now rotten apple of New York, and moved to the state where freedom was born. On Independence Day, in New York, there was an island, Staten Island, that still remains there, but looks totally different from when I moved there 30 years ago. I must say, it was bucolic, and incredible difference from the bustling borough of Brooklyn. But even 20 years before that, sprawling landscapes of farmland stretched far and wide. The borough and its communities were destroyed by the Fresh Kill landfill. And the one seen from outer space, I keep hearing everybody talking about 18 miles. This thing is seen from outer space. That's a fact. You can look it up. Astronauts can identify it. Now some other facts. Number 1, Staten Island today is the epicenter of mental disorders, autism, intellectual disabilities, and cancer in New York State. Whether you lived by it or across town from it, it affected everyone. Everyone. Both sides. Okay. Number 2, the Colonial Intermediate Unit 20, an educational entity that services special needs children in our area, are in absolute distress due to the recent skyrocketing percentages of autism rates rising in the area. Okay.
They built their school on a land.
Number 3, secession from New York was the action taken by Staten Island. With 2/3 of a vote, they won, but the state killed it from action. Maybe we need to do the same. Within minutes of sitting here listening to the grumblings of my neighbors, I hear whispers of hopelessness. There are 5 of you. Yeah. Right? I mean, so I've even heard some people aren't supposed to be sitting up there, technically. But either way, there's supposed to be 5 of you, right? Most of you won't experience that cancer right away, but you will, if you vote with your pockets and not your heart. You guys might experience something else. From the sounds of the people, the loss of your seats. I'm a teacher, as stated earlier, and we're excellent observers. And 3 of you would definitely ask me to repeat the directions again.
I need to interrupt you because you've reached the 3-minute limit.
Okay.
Thank you.
Hey, it's all right, thanks. Because 2 of you fell asleep and 1 of you was looking at his computer. But honestly, imagine if we had our own representatives to legit oust our enemies that are pounding at the gates. That's what would happen. What would happen if Lower Saucon divided? An action that expands the landfill would further damage our union. The taxes will pay, who will pay the taxes if you lost us? 3 minutes? That's a joke. 4 days before Christmas? A bigger joke. Without your vote, we will succumb to the fate of an island I just escaped. Yes, they closed the dump on Staten Island 15 years ago, but effects are still destroying direct and far-reaching communities today with rancid smells, methane gas output, and its catastrophic effects on the unborn and elderly, record levels of autism and cancer. The current administration of Staten Island built a park around it. I don't know if you knew that. It was called Cancer Park.
Sir, you're well beyond.
It's okay. So they-
Ask you to stop.
I understand, so I'm just gonna keep going because you guys had that 10 minutes before, right?
Sir.
Hey, my fellow citizens, my fellow veterans that have served our nation, neighbors, friends, we must continue to fight. We must stop this beast before it seeps into our streams,
Thank you, sir.
rivers, waterways, trees, communities, families' future. And yes, I agree about proactive rezoning. You guys, hey, why don't we put it in your backyard? Have a good day.
Next is Kathleen Snyder. Kathleen Snyder.
I pass.
Okay. Next, Sonia Lantinga, Lantinga.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Sonia Lantinga. First name spelled S-O-N-J-A. Last name spelled L-A-N-T-I-N-G-A. Good evening, everyone. I am a resident of Lower Saucon, and I oppose the Bethlehem Landfill expansion and rezoning proposal. My household and the households of my friends and family that live in the beautiful Lehigh Valley oppose the expansion and rezoning as well. I have family members that have medical conditions, just like the last person that spoke, examples of it. They are caused by harmful and toxic environmental issues. And how sad that they have to live a life that is not normal, by no fault of their own, but due to poor decisions made in the past that haunt us now in the future. Please do not destroy our natural resources that are necessary for human survival. I currently buy local food and drink from farms in the area, and I plan to continue supporting local. I'm keeping this short, and so I donate the rest of my time to anybody else that needs extra time. Because 3 minutes is not enough for some people to express their concerns on such an important matter that will have lifelong repercussions on the Lehigh Valley and beyond. I can't help but think that holding a hearing during the Christmas holiday is a way for the council to push their own agenda without acting on the best interests of we the people. Are there any incentives that the council members are receiving on behalf of Bethlehem Landfill? Any type of incentive? If so, then I request your immediate resignation. Thank you for your time, and have a Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays.
B-A-L-U-M-B-O.
What was the first name?
Frank. Identify yourself, first and last name, spelling, please.
Name's Frank Waldo, F-R-A-N-K-P-A-L.
Please proceed.
Can you just come closer to the
Closer to the mic.
I live on Kingsmill Road in Lower Saucon Township. I've stood before this council on multiple occasions concerning the orders that emanate from the landfill. I'm very disappointed that I need to continually come to these meetings to express my concerns once again. First, I want to commend the council on looking forward to paying down debt and its dependency on the dump's revenue. Second is, I don't appreciate how the new council members want to rule it in an authoritarian manner and act like dictators, because every one of you aren't doing it right now. You have poisoned and alienated our relationship with the Helltown Borough over the library, swimming pool, and the composting center. It's obvious this council is not working for the citizens' best interests. I am not at all in support of any expansion, any rezoning, let me clarify that, because it's been brought up multiple times, which subsequently will result in an expansion, because it's not in the best interest of Lower Saucon or the Lehigh Valley. The rezoning and ultimate expansion will double the size, and we already know the dump is not a good corporate citizen with their many violations. They only have their corporate greed in mind and profits at the expense of Lehigh Valley residents, and especially Lower Saucon residents. Long time after the dump is closed, the Lehigh Valley will be left with dealing with this nasty, toxic dump for decades to come. This council is trying to rezone such that there's not proper oversight, ample public input. Only allowing 3 minutes to speak is an example of suppression of the voices of the taxpayers for such an important decision. Residents in this township have to jump through hoops more to install a swimming pool and spend thousands of dollars on geological studies, and yet they roll out the red carpet for the dump, and they're trying to make it easy so they can expand. This is a democratic society. However, with some of the authoritarian mentality of some of the council members, I often wonder, and if the majority of this township believes that expansion is good, then put it to a referendum and let us vote on it. It should not be decided by a few select council members who are in favor. I know there's some council members who already made up their minds to support this rezoning and ultimately expansion. We also know there's been some council members have been supported by a political action committee that has been funded by the dump to support expansions. It looks like it's a payback time, in my opinion. Lower Saucon does not need any revenue generated by the host fees. Anyone that states our taxes will go up if we don't expand is misleading to residents. For the past 3 years, we've been at excess of revenue when we no longer require hosting fees to balance your budgets. I ask again, who does this council work for? The residents of Lower Saucon Township or the large out-of-state corporations like the dump? I think it's clear the way this council is trying to push through this without proper oversight and public comment. I also will ask why a rezoning would and ultimately expansion be good for the Lower Saucon Township. There's been too much gaslighting, misleading, and scare tactics by this dump. Some of my immediate concerns, I've already expressed one of them, our taxes will not go up. Anybody that's saying that they will is bull. There's many environmental impacts. There's too many lists in 3 minutes, and 3 minutes is a joke.
Sir,
Not even-
you get the 3-minute walk. I'd like to-
Okay, well, let me finish my last points here then. Open space mission, where is it? That's a joke. We have more widespread odors, there's going to be more truck traffic, more waste runoff, and anyone who supports this expansion is either ill-informed, short-sighted, or just plain stupid for what this expansion will do to the township. Finally, I want to say, remember, this council works for the residents of the community, not the out-of-state corporations that only care about profits and their corporate greed.
Hello, my name is Jackie Palomo, Jackie-Paiealumdo. I'm also a resident of 2566 Kingsmill Road. The gentleman who just spoke is my husband. And the reason that I came here was to see who would show up and why. I wanted to see who was for the dump and who was against the dump, because I couldn't figure out any good reason to be for it. So I came to see who was for it, and they could explain to me how garbage has suddenly become good for me. I don't understand it. So I wanted to come here and I wanted to see who was for and who was against. If you wouldn't mind, and I'm not sure I can do this, if people could just raise their hands and show me who was for the dump.
Ma'am, this is your opportunity for public comment, not to poll the audience.
Well, I'm just asking a question. This is my community.
I understand that you can ask them after me, this is a council meeting.
Well,
taking place.
let her
testify.
Well,
Got 3 minutes.
Against the dump.
okay, I'm against it.
Against.
I'm against it. And I'm here to say we need to band together as a community. If we don't want this, we shouldn't have to have it jammed down our throat. We need to stand together. I don't see red or blue in here. I see people. I see me. I see you. We're all here because we care. You obviously don't. And I didn't even remember that you came up my driveway. And when I started asking questions, you turned your back on me. And you walked away. So so I'm here. You wouldn't talk to me then. Guess you don't talk to me now? Okay. But I I just want everyone in this room to know that we can be a community if we choose to be. That is our God-given right and our choice. I am for the people, by the people. If you're for the people, by the people, I'm with you, not with them. Let's see what we can do.
Again, Diane Hollowell, Hollowell.
Diane, D-I-A-N-E, Hollowell, Hollowell. I am 64 years old. I grew up in Hellertown, I went to Saucon Valley, and now live in Lower Saucon. All my life, these two communities have meshed together. We share a pool, athletic fields, compost center, well, we used to, a parade, and even a library, we used to also there. And I'm not sure what you all campaigned on, but I'm sure it wasn't, let's see if we can break away from Hellertown. And I'm not sure what your next big move is. I sure hope it's not taking 275 acres of agricultural land to expand the landfill. I have to tell you, while I was passing out these flyers to inform citizens of this meeting, one person's comment stuck with me, and it still haunts me when I see my granddaughter growing up in this area. His comment was, and I quote, "We're going to be known as the garbage dump capital of PA. Who would want to live here?" I could see expanding athletic fields or a compost center, but a landfill where over 50% of the materials come from out of state, 3,000 trucks a month coming to deposit garbage. Can you even imagine more than 3,000 trucks? And I was extremely upset after reading a report from the Urban Research and Development Corporation about proposing a zoning text amendment. The current zoning ordinance regulates the amount of various natural features that can be distributed throughout the community. By adding a natural resource mitigation alternative, it would allow the landfill to expand, and it would give the council the ability to designate other areas in the township as protected. I can't even imagine owning a large chunk of property in Lower Saucon with the thought of the council taking it away just to offset the expansion of the landfill. And before you go to making this decision to go from rural agriculture to light industry, has there been any research done on the health aspects that can affect those who live close by, with added traffic with trucks coming from out of state? And I know your position as a council member, making decisions that affect all Lower Saucon residents, not only with our tax dollars, but with our health. You take that position very seriously. So I am hoping, or should I say anticipating, that you are having studies done on the environmental impact of expanding an existing landfill by 275 acres and what effect it will have on the community. Please do the right thing, so when my granddaughter grows up, she can be proud to live in this area and not move away because we might be known as the garbage dump of Pennsylvania.
Wittchen, W-I-T-T-C-H-E-N. Please hold on for 1 second while the court order changes the matter.
Andrea, A-N-D-R-E-A, Wittchen, W-I-T-T-C-H-E-N. Let me first say that the handling of this entire township process with the rezoning is exactly why this council has dragged its feet
on putting in a decent audiovisual system that first of all lets you have microphones that let you hear what they're saying, and secondly, live stream this without me having to show up every friggin' month to do it instead. This is exactly why, so that you won't know what's going on here. Second point, you're being gaslit. Those previous expansions that they were talking about, they were not really expansions. There was no significant amount of land that was rezoned for those expansions. What happened was that the landfill was simply allowed to use the land they already had differently so that they could put more trash on it. But it did not require rezoning RA to LI in any capacity. So that was pretty much gaslighting. Third, I hope you've caught on to the exquisite irony of the fact that right before this hearing, we had a hearing to conserve 41.5 acres. Wow, that was big of you. It's so exciting. Now, how about you at 275.7 acres that you're going to turn into a garbage dump? You have already proven tonight that you are seriously deficient in the expertise required to make an intelligent decision on any conditional use request that would come before you that had even a minutia of environmental impact in it. You have already proven that you have done no research of any significance to determine whether this is a good or a bad thing. And if you take that special exception off of there, it's going to make it just as easy or easier for you to be as equally stupid about environmental issues and their impact on the life of this township. 2 more points. Well, I'll make them really quickly. We are required to preserve the natural resources of this township, and according to the Pennsylvania Constitution, we have a right to clean air, pure water, and the preservation of the natural, scenic, historic, and aesthetic values of the environment. As trustees of these resources, the Commonwealth shall conserve and maintain them for the benefit of all the people. You're not doing your job.
S-M-I-T-H. Joanne Smith.
Joanne Smith, Joanne Smith. I live on Saucon Avenue in Steel City. And I'm opposed to the zoning change which would allow the landfill expansion. I'm sure you're aware of the Township of Lower Saucon ordinance regarding nuisances. The title is actually the Health and Nuisance Ordinance of the Township of Lower Saucon. This applies to an individual, organization, corporation, partnership, government or governmental subdivision or agency, business trust, estate trust, association, and any other legal or commercial entity. The purpose of this ordinance is promoting public health, life, safety, morals, welfare, peace, decency, dignity, reasonable and comfortable use of property, and the tranquility of the community of the Township of Lower Saucon, County of Northampton, Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. A couple of the objectives of the ordinance are to prohibit the creation or maintenance of impure, unwholesome, or offensive conditions relating to streets, sidewalks, air, soil, structures, premises, food, or drink. Also to prohibit the accumulation of brush, debris, litter, and any other such materials which may cause an unwholesome and unhealthy condition in the township. Well, those of us who live in Steel City, and maybe elsewhere, have certainly endured the smell. And if you drive down Shimersville Road heading towards Steel City, it's like a drive-through landfill. There's nothing but trash on both sides. It's disgusting. So this is part of the reason I'm opposed to it, because it is not going to be good for any of us. So I could go on, but since you choose to limit us to only 3 minutes to speak, I will end by saying that I'm asking you on the council to do your job and enforce the ordinances in place in the township on the landfill, which clearly would not allow the expansion of the landfill due to the ramifications of such an expansion. Enforce the nuisance ordinance on the landfill the same as you would for any of us private residents. Thank you.
Halton, HLTY.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Felton, JENNIER, HELTY. I am here as a member of the Lower Saucon EAC Board, as well as a member of the Saucon Creek Watershed, as well as a concerned citizen. And as a member of the EAC, I did a lot of reviewing of what was on the website as part of being on the EAC. I was surprised to find that our role with the help of public officials established the EAC back in 2002 to preserve our resources, our natural beauty, and our rural character as part of Lower Saucon. I even read the open space requirements, and on page 11 it talks about Redington Cave that runs along Bull Run, Still City Slopes, and noted that it was a part of the Department of Conservation of Natural Resources, and it was also part of the National Heritage Corridor. On page 12, it also talks about how we have to preserve this area because of its resources. As I stand here, I will not reiterate a lot of the things that have already been said, but I really hope that you will take into consideration the importance of preserving our natural resources. And I would ask that you do not change the landfill zoning from special use to conditional use. I would like that you do not remove the environmental protection that would allow the landfill to expand, as well as do not eliminate your role as a township in approving all site plans. Therefore, do not approve the rezoning. Thank you.
Thank you. LANKEWICZ.
David, D-A-V-I-D, Lankowitz, L-A-N-K-E-W-I-C-Z. I said Z for fun. But I am a recent resident of Lower Saucon in the last 5 years, happily moving here. I've seen nothing or heard nothing that benefits the citizens of Lower Saucon. The citizens are voters, and we get no benefit from this. Currently, 50% of the waste has been mentioned here and comes from out of state. Well, if you read the landfill company's proposal to the township on October 19th, it says approximately 6 years are left remaining on the life. That means 12 years if we just take Pennsylvania waste. How about 20 years if we just take Lower Saucon waste? Again, there's zero benefits to citizens and voters. The most disturbing thing, as a former U.S. Navy officer, I've forgotten more about the dangers of radioactive waste than you folks know about. It lasts forever. So does PFAS, PFOS, whatever else you want to say that we can't measure. Bringing that there, we do not want this lovely community that I moved to be the next Camp Lejeune on the TV with all the lawyers saying, hey, you lived in Lower Saucon the last 15, 20 years? Please contact me. Did you drink the water in Lower Saucon? Did you swim in the Lehigh Valley? Did you fish? You didn't eat fish out of the Lehigh Valley. Did you trout fish in Saucon Creek? Those things are what you have to consider the future. I urge you not to approve the zoning. I urge you not to agree to the text change. And I refer to you the last page of Bethlehem Landfill Company's, again, presentation on October 19, 2022. And I quote, page 17, "The requested map/text amendments are the first step towards a future expansion of the landfill." Ladies and gentlemen, I know your job's tough. A lot of us have tough jobs and tough lives. But you got to make the right decision for the citizens and voters of Lower Saucon. Thank you.
MC, capital K-E-L-L-I-N.
I came right after Greg, I go to work, so Greg did Chuck, I don't know if you have 4 minutes.
Sir, I'd like to do that, but the problem I have is that other people may do the same thing. It's not fair to them to sign.
Schedule a hearing.
Okay, you can spell your name.
I already said most of the things I want to say, but I'll reiterate my opposition to the zoning change. And I will thank Mr. Treadwell for giving us the Cliff Notes version of how the zoning will change and the text amendments will impact us. I really think that if the council was serious about giving us the proper communication, we're all intelligent people in this room, that we should have a better explanation of what's going on and why you're doing it. This goes back, in my opinion, to a lack of my trust in our council to act in the best interest of our citizens. There's been a history of a failure to be transparent. That's long-term in what I think are agendas that you have hoping to accomplish, but you're not telling us what those things are. So again, I urge you to vote no on this zoning change. Thank you.
Arnheimer, A-U-E-R-N-H-E-I-M-E-R.
I'm Carol Auenheimer from Lower Saucon, C-A-R-O-L-A-U-E-R-N-H-E-I-M-E-R. H-E-I-M-E-R.
Could you hold the mic closer, please? The mic closer.
Are
you talking to the mic, please?
Okay, yeah, I'm.
Thank you.
I would like to express my concerns and opposition to this proposed rezoning from rural agricultural to light industrial, including releasing the conservation easements at the site to at least double the size of the landfill. I oppose making the site a conditional use instead of special exception, bypassing a zoning hearing board's approval and studies for the landfill, removing environmental protections. I would like to put into the record information from 2 postings from WLVR, which is an NPR station, written by Tyler Pratt. One from October 30th, 2021, and one from November 5th, 2021. They stated that the Texas-based company, Waste Connections, had dumped at least $75,000 into the Township Council race since August of that year, according to the campaign finance reports. Their political action committee, Responsible Solutions for PA, spent thousands on political consultants in Tampa, Florida, for polling, surveys, advertisement, and get out the vote door walking services in Lower Saucon, including door hanger mailers and a website that featured the Republican candidates' names and photos telling people to vote for them. To be clear, candidates did not receive any direct contributions from the PAC. Unfortunately, that's how the political system works, isn't it? Shouldn't we be concerned that we have now elected council members who may be at the mercy of the landfill and their financial support when there is an election? Anyone wonder about what kind of influence this may have on what is going on now and in future council decisions? The Morning Call reported that the landfill's previous owner
indirectly poured upwards of $95,000 into a previous race. I think this is an inappropriate connection to a business in our township that does significant work and significant damage to our land. In the October article mentioned, Council Member Jason Demise stated, and I quote, "I'm not hearing the overwhelming wave of consideration of criticism and concern, and if there was, it would need to be addressed," he said, "even if 1 or 2 people are affected by this," end quote. Really? Look around, there are more than 1 or 2 people affected by this. If I may quote another citizen who said, "I would say that we would allow the landfill to finish its current expansions that have been approved, and maybe we can turn that into something else moving forward that is more beneficial to our residents. Something that doesn't have any odor, doesn't pollute our water, doesn't take all our rural agricultural land and turn it into a dump. I think Lower Saucon is better than being a dump." Thank you.
Sir, the gentleman who stood up earlier, you said he had to leave early.
Yeah.
Unless there's an objection from other residents, I'm willing to accommodate you. I'm just trying to be fair to the other residents who have signed up and trying to do this in an orderly fashion. I understand your concerns. I'd like to.
No, I appreciate it. I really appreciate it.
We need to identify yourself, first and last name spelled.
My name is Tim Murphy, T-I-M, first name, last name Murphy, and you are.
You were next on the list. You didn't check the box.
Oh, I didn't check the box.
That's great. Want me to check it for you?
Yeah, check it for me. I just wanted to get out and voice my opinion that I'm opposed to the rezoning of those 7 tracts that are designated from rural agricultural to light industrial. And I think as a site plan has to be done on anything that develops 275 acres. As a matter of fact, site plan usually has to be done on something that develops 2 acres, right? So I think that has to be done anyway, right? Just to figure out a leachate testing wells and all the different reservoirs that are needed and the pipes that are needed just to make sure everything works correctly and minimize the leachate migrating into the Lehigh River. I'm really troubled about what the poor people that live out along Reddington and Apple Butter Road are going through or will go through if this goes through. But I'm particularly concerned about the water contamination that will go into the Lehigh River and into the Bull Run. So, and naturally, everybody's well that's out there. I think Priscilla did a nice job summarizing a bunch of the testing and the reviews that should be done in order to do any type of development in a conscientious way. And I think anything that's less than that is irresponsible. Thanks for letting me speak, and I'm really happy everybody here showed up. Have a nice Christmas.
Matt McConnell, MacConnell, Matt McConnell. Matt McConnell. I spelled it. Okay. Next is Jane Shinko, S-H-I-N-K-O.
Hi, my name is Jane, J-A-Y-N-E, Shinko, S-H-I-N-K-O. And I want to first compliment everybody else that was here for giving very reasonable, articulate presentations. And I'd like to incorporate, to the degree possible, all of the comments that were made before the start of the hearing. I realize there's about an hour of them. I only have 3 minutes, so I'm not going to rehash all of those arguments. But they are my arguments also, so I'd like to include them as part of this record. I've been sitting here for 3 hours, and probably 2 hours of that I've been looking at this map you have on the wall, which is Map Amendment Exhibit A, attached to the proposed ordinance. And you know, looking at it at first blush, and, you know, a quarter, what have you, it looks very reasonable. It's, they're adjacent, contiguous parcels, they're about the size of the original, RA to LI, you know, what's the big deal? But we don't live in a two-dimensional world, you know, and the whole other consideration that's not reflected on there is that the top two parcels, the Helms parcel and the Reddington parcels, are under easement, the very same easement that you're creating on the Lightsville Road property. Those easements that are on this property, they were recorded in 1994. They are in perpetuity. They are in the name of Saucon Township. You are, as a fiduciary, you are obligated to preserve, protect, reserve, conserve those parcels. And that use is not coincident and can't be rationalized as a LI use. You know, conservation easement is an RA use. That's it, no more, no LI use. But the whole other thing that goes along with this is that I haven't heard one iota about what the value of that easement would be. I mean, you're paying $225,000 for an easement, not an ownership, but an easement. The right to restrict use on a 41-acre parcel. And here you're discussing giving up control over that use for nothing. You're just handing it over to Waste Connections without any consideration whatsoever. You know, I would also like to incorporate as part of my testimony the MAP 2 and MAP 4, which are part of the proposed realignment. I understand, I'm finishing my thought. I'm finishing my thought. From 2020, which was presented by the Bethlehem Landfill or whoever IESI was at the time. It was a very comprehensive study. It was a site plan that included geological studies and grading studies and watershed studies, and we don't have any of that here. But if you want to look at the effects that landfill development would have on those two parcels, I send you back to MAP 2 and MAP 4.
Thank you, ma'am.
I think it was my name.
Hunter Gress, GRESS.
Hunter Gress, HUNTER, GRESS in Sam.
You want to know what they were?
There's a lot I could say for you guys tonight. There's a lot I could say about this. It's not a debate club meeting. I'm not going to sit here and try and get the perfect score from the judge, and well, with that I get 5 minutes, not 3. It's not a court hearing. I'm not going to win over a jury and get someone to side with me and get this canceled. I'm about 90% sure all of council has their minds made up here already, and I'm pretty sure everyone in this crowd has their mind made up. I'm pretty sure most of them have made that clear. I could sit here and drone on and on for ages about the environmental impacts, the effects on the citizens who live there, the effects on the residents who go out to Steel City for various reasons, whether it's the fire company to visit Steel City, which unfortunately it's been a little neglected recently, but who knows, let them go out there. I think it's a beautiful place with a lot of potential. But the important thing, the reason I came up here is I just want to get on the record that I oppose the resolution 22-02, which is rezoning this from rural agriculture to light industrial. I don't think that's a good thing for us, for our township, for anyone here. I think there should be a lot more looked into before we just jump to it and make this decision. Again, I don't think anyone's going to listen to me, but just want to get it on the record that I do oppose that. And hope you guys will as well. Thank you.
The taxpayer.
That's okay.
Because we've had other people who have spoken, who are also members of BAC, including the president of BAC who's on council with us here. So I think we've heard from at least 2 or 3.
Entities that we use to store land for preservation, including environmentally important hydrologic features, sensitive natural features such as steep slopes, forested land, bedrock
I'm sorry,
outcrops.
sir, could you just slow down, please, in your reading?
Yes, I'm fighting that clock.
I understand.
Land-heavy carbonate geology, scenic value, and leakage potential to conserve invasive property. The large hills and small mountains in this township are all underlain by fractured metamorphic rocks. They serve as groundwater recharge areas and also feed groundwater to the limestone aquifers that form the lowlands. This is a geologic fact. In PA, we refer to these geologic terrains as the Redding Prone. In New Jersey, they're called the Highlands. They're the same rocks, they play the same hydrologic roles. New Jersey officially protects their groundwater resources through the Highlands Water Protection and Planning Act. These are environmentally sensitive lands. The parcels proposed for rezoning in the northeast and on the east, they're groundwater recharge areas that feed and flow to Bull Run and the Lehigh River. That's the role they play. There's also an environmental injustice issue here. Council should consider, in my opinion. The burden and impacts of landfill expansion will be disproportionately borne by the residents of this section of the township. They've already been bearing the pain of the landfill. Furthermore, methane is a powerful greenhouse gas, and although methane gas is collected at the landfill, fugitive methane gas released in the atmosphere, it's the third largest source of methane, as indicated by the EPA, the U.S. EPA. Council is being asked to allow the landfill to absolutely destroy ecologically sensitive and valuable land to be converted to a pile of trash that will sit there and evolve for centuries. Residents and future residents will have to rely on a thin liner. This is a landfill liner. Future residents will have to rely on this to protect their groundwater resources in perpetuity. That's what you're being asked to do. Thank you for letting me jump out.
Brief adjournment. We'll reconvene at 9:55. I'm sorry, recess. A brief recess, and we'll reconvene at 9:55 p.m. I'm going to make a motion to extend the time deadline to proceed with today's hearing.
I'll second. Ms. Yerger?
Yes.
Did you get my yes?
Yep. Mr. Benavides, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Pritchett, how do you vote? Yes. Ms. DeLeon, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Angus, how do you vote? Yes.
All right, we're now reconvened. The next name on our sign-in list who wishes to speak is Russ Sutton. S-U-T-T-O-N, Russ Sutton. Okay. The next is Larry Octoff. Larry Octoff. So please identify yourself first and last name, please.
Yes, my name is Lawrence Optorp, L-A-W-R-E-N-C-E, last name is Optorp, O-P-T-H-O-F. 2700 Reddington Road, Allentown. Okay, I'm looking at this map and I'm just thinking to myself that, it's kind of insult to our intelligence to say that the landfill just decided to buy up all that land. And I guess they thought they were going to put an outwash or something on it. And then they come forward to you people and miraculously we have this, we're changing the zoning to meet their needs, that they want to expand the landfill. I wish to say for the record that I am against the landfill expansion. In fact, I don't even like the landfill that's there now. When I first moved here, it wasn't that high. Now it's pretty high, and now you want to expand it. So instead of having one peak, we're going to have twin peaks. I mean, this is ridiculous. I don't understand for the life of me what we are getting out of this. Where is the payback to the town? What's for what? We're going to ruin the whole aspect of what this town has so that they can expand. Now, you say they just want to change the zoning now. But, I'm not a fool. And I know exactly what they intend to do. They're going to put garbage on that land. And you people, just like you're ignoring, willing to change the zoning, you're going to be just as willing to let them do whatever they want. And you know what? I hope you don't, but I got a bad feeling here. And I just wish to say for the record that I'm against this. And I feel expansion. I'm against that landfill period. And I feel also, I like to say that I feel that I think we would have to force the residents to have this own 3-minute comment time I mean, I feel this is just against what this country stands for. And I get a kick out of it when Mr. Benone's over there hits the hammer, and the police quick jump out of the tent door, policemen. They come out of the doors waiting to escort somebody out of here. I mean, it's ridiculous. Thank you.
D-A-T-T-E.
Mr. Sutton.
Oh, Mr. Sutton.
Yeah, I was in the bathroom.
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
Okay.
My name is Russell, R-U-S-S-E-L-L, last name Sutton, S-U-T-T-O-N, 2133 Saucon Avenue, and I've been a resident for 35 years. And I have a couple particular questions. I'd like to know how many people, other than Priscilla, has actually visited the land you're talking about, to have any idea what that looks like. Has any of you been up there around the whole thing, from all different parts? Bethlehem Township, out by Lehigh. I took pictures over here from all over the valley. And this trash pit is the highest mountain in the valley. And you realize there's no height limit on that thing? There's no height limit on it at all. And also, Robert Friedman, the representative, sent a letter to every one of you council members, and I want that put in as an exhibit. I don't know why you haven't mentioned that, but did he not? Because I spoke to him directly. Did he send you a letter?
So this is your chance for public comment.
I'm sorry?
This is your chance for public comment during the hearing. This isn't a question and answer session. This is your chance to ask.
Part of it, but I'm just stating a fact. He sent everybody on council a letter to reject this whole thing. We did this 8 years ago, the same thing, and this came back to bite us. They were going to expand to the west. You see where that big green land spot is, where the dump is now? Well, the green spots to the west were where they were going to relocate it, and we defeated that then. And Sandra, you were there, Lincoln Treadwell was there, and Priscilla was there when we did it, and we defeated them then. So this is not a new thing. This is the 7th attempt of this landfill to re-expand. And they bought all the land, all the way down to Riverside Drive, all the way down to the river. They own all that. And I have a question for Lincoln Treadwell. What entity that's light industrial has an interest of moving up there? Can you name one entity? One company that has an interest in it?
Sure, again, this is public comment. It's your opportunity.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, if you want to turn it into light industrial, you should have somebody that's interested. The thing is, it's a mountain, it's a forest. You have to tear it down and you ruin it. I would like every one of you to look at these pictures before you leave and see what you're destroying. There's the land, what it looks like, and that's what you're going to turn it into. And just for you, there's a notice on the wall. That notice I found was up on Skyline Ridge on a dead-end street, and there's nobody who lives up there. That was the only posting I've ever seen. And have you taken into account residents that live in Bethlehem Township that have to look at this? I went to over 200 people, and out of the 200 people, maybe 50 people knew about this. If you put it in the express time, that's fine, but I don't know anybody who looks at a paper anymore. You need to post this better. You need to notify your people better about council meetings like this. And a notice like that was in the weeds, is not a way to notify people. And I'm definitely against this rezoning from rural to light industrial, because they have their marks on that entire mountain area. Not just that land, that's just the start. They're going to move westward when they're done filling that up. So I completely reject it.
Thank you, sir. Jacob Dibble.
My name is Jacob Dimore.
Please spell your name.
Jacobdittee, M-O-R-E. I grew up in Sioux City with my family. I am here to speak for the past, present, and future generations threatened by this rezoning plan. We deserve to live in a clean, safe environment. This rezoning is planned not a health safety standard for anyone in the township or the Lehigh Valley. We would like to live without a toxic mess surrounding us in the air and land, on our land. We have the right as Pennsylvanians to clear air, water, and land. It is our responsibility and right to protect this all, to protect the nearby D&L Trail and Lehigh Valley River from even more compilation than it has already encountered. From the landfill, we need to protect our homes and our lungs from hidden fumes and gases. Rezoning is violating our rights. We deserve to continue living our lives where we grew up, made so many memories in, and will continue to do in the area that holds so much history. As a community, we are here to stop the rezoning that will cause further environmental damage, and we hope the council, you consider that you were elected to serve Lower Saucon, not New York, not New Jersey, and not the landfill. This land needs to be protected and not rezoned. Please say no.
C-I-C-C-A-R-E-L-L-O.
Yes, my name is Michael, M-I-C-H-A-E-L, C-I-C-C-A-R-E-L-L-O. Okay, I live on 2545 Quarry Lane, which is right off of Remington Road. We're concerned about our well, just like everyone else here. But my main concern is I do have previous experience with the landfill. And this landfill, they don't do anything except fill it in, cover it up with dirt. They're not doing enough for the community. You know, the landfill that I was familiar with, yes, it was dirty. Yeah, they deal with trash. We're going to have trash. You know, it is a necessity. However, they haven't planned on incinerating, reducing the amount of fill, using any of the gases, the methane, to keep pilot lights going in a closed loop system with the exhaust going through as a steam. You know, I don't hear anything, I don't hear any kind of solutions. You know, all I hear is like, oh, this will be brushed under the table, everyone's taking the easy way out. You know, where I was, the wheel grader, they get money from people because they're putting electricity into the grid. Why aren't we doing that around here? You know, these are concerns that we should be concerned with. You know, I agree with Mark. You know, I think they want to get access to the rail because they do bring a lot in from New York, and they want easy money. Instead of producing electricity, which they did where I was from, they lowered energy bills, and they also took care of people's taxes in the surrounding area. What is this waste company doing for us? Is that it, are you factoring that in your decision? I'd like to know. That's it.
Thank you, sir. Straka, S-T-R-A-K-A.
Hello, I'm Stephanie Straka, S-T-E-P-H-A-N-I-E, last name Straka, S-T-R-A-K-A, developmental pediatrician. I work with children with special needs. 3
main things that I say safety-wise, just in general. Number one, if you haven't driven these roads in the rain or on slick ice, I suggest you do. Because even now, as a nice, safe driver, going down those hills, as soon as it is below a certain temperature, they become so slick that everyone has to go down apple butter so slowly. It gets literally, how many times have you had been called, right, for the jackknife truck, or things like that? So also, are we going to start having a sign that says, watch out for falling garbage? Because going along State Road, it says, watch out for falling rock, right? So if you now deforest the whole area, now we have lots of erosion, and now everything becomes a nice mess, right? It would be like you putting garbage at the top of your stairs, pouring water on it, and watching it trickle down, okay? So, number one. Number two, it is a valley. Gravity is gravity, right? I don't care if you put it at the top, the middle, the bottom. Who's in charge when the garbage falls into the track? The track is right there, literally right there, right? Who's in charge when the garbage falls into the river? Who's in charge when the garbage is on the roads, right? Right now, I can't get around the trees that fall there during a heavy rain. Okay? I'm on 2681 Reddington Road, right up here, right? So, number three, I have little kids. My number one question when I talk to kids, families, why does your child have delays? What are your exposures? What are your exposures, right? This is a high-risk exposure, okay? You could put pharmaceuticals, you could put, nice freaking micelles for your face creams. You can put anything you want into that landfill. There's no real, who's watching them? Who's caring? Who's watching the way they put stuff in the barrels, label it, make sure it doesn't leak, right? How do I know there's not a lake underneath there that actually has wonderful, beautiful water that gets right into the river? So now you have the whole area plus wells, right? Most PA is on wells. So all your well water is now completely disturbed. Okay, so now you have to put in a whole system of everyone to be on water from, the county. So you're going to put in county water for all of us so that we have safe water to drink. Okay. And then we have to look at the downriver effect, right? So do you swim? Do you kayak? Do you hang out at all? Do you fish? Right? So all these things have been brought up, but now you have millions of dollars of lawsuits. You know why? I hear this all the time.
Ma'am, I need to interrupt you. Your 3 minutes are up. If you could wrap it very please.
I don't know if it was actually even started, but that's okay.
It is.
But that's fine. But thank you so much. But those are the 3 big things I worry about. So safety hazards, and I would say, do I sue you? You? Who do I sue? Or do I sue the county? What happens when that happens, okay? So.
Thank you. G-L-I-A-N-O, Sal Gagliano.
Hi, my name is Sal Galliano, S-A-L-G-A-G-L-I-A-N-O. I live at 2530 Wolfpack Run, which is essentially Reddington Road. I have a few concerns. Not just a few concerns, many concerns. I moved here 8 years ago. I wanted it out of the city. I wanted into the woods. Well, I got it. But I didn't bargain for that. Let me ask a question, just not a question answer, don't need an answer, but all you on the council. How many of you live close enough to it? Does anybody live close enough to it? And if you did, would you really, really want to be there? Smell it every day? You get those in Steel City, you get your own water from someplace else. We got to get it from the ground. Well, stuff don't roll uphill, it rolls down. Gravity feeds it. Sooner or later, what's clearing in that water ain't going to be there. It's just going to get all filled up, and now I got dirty water. I already got dirty water. I have to have mine ultraviolet scanned. Probably because of that. Now, I oppose all this because it's just plain wrong. You guys just went and did what's in conservation land? Conservation land! Now you want to take conservation land away? And you're saying, okay, well, their plan would be to put it elsewhere. I didn't come down there to have that land taken and moved over someplace else. I'm over here, not over on the other side of town where I can't see it. I can't be in it. Sorry, that's all I have to say. You guys are all wrong. Just plain wrong.
Thank you.
I pass.
Okay. Next is Evan Needham, Needham.
Good evening, thank you all for being here. Evan Needham, EVAN, Needham. I had a little bit of script, but I'll go off script here for a second. I'm a very logical person, so I try to look at everything from both sides. I understand, I listened to what you had to say earlier with the article, so I understand the dynamic that you're up against, the legal repercussion if you choose to not elect to pass this. So I understand from that standpoint, but what I also understand is that if I was in your position, you're looking at a crowd of people who are giving you ammo to fight this war for the people. And in reality, you're the council for our township. So in hindsight, you're supposed to be representing us. That's the reason you guys were elected, all right? So, and with that said, there's a lot of hypocrisy that I see going on. My property's the top, it's actually cut off right there, but the neighbor of that property that the landfill is being put into, that's my property right there. And since day one, I've been nothing but pushback from the zoning about we want to keep this area pristine, beautiful. All right, I spent many years working for the government. I know exactly how the chess game works. I know everything that is loopholes and how you exploit the loopholes. And I know every single one of you are very well educated, and I know each one of you understands exactly what's happening. So it's not some conspiracy, it's just factual. So with that said, with what I did have to say tonight, is that the people are looking at you tonight with the decision that you're going to be forced to make here. And I'm not saying that I understand what your decisions are going to be made. However, I do think that you have your mind made up. But it will be a direct representation of whether or not one of you is bought out by the landfill, or if you actually are here to represent the people. The other thing that I came here to demonstrate to a lot of people here that I haven't heard once tonight, but being a combat veteran and involved in many wars, I understand, and I don't think anybody else understands, but that property right there that you guys are talking about zoning, that's actually a historical site of World War I and direct involvements, and all of the infrastructure is still standing there. And it's not historical. I mean, if you go there, you'll see it. It's all ruins, still standing, pristine condition. And it all was from World War I. And it's just about to get covered in complete garbage. And it's ironic because on my property right across the street, I'm actually cleaning it up, trying to make the area a lot cleaner. Me and my neighbors have been spending many years with the local police here, fighting dumping happening on the Narrows, fighting all this crime happening down there, and now here we are fighting our own township about potential dumping. I mean, it's a little absurd. And then on top of that, I've had zoning officers outside my gate trying to watch what I do there when I'm just trying to clean it up. I have those tree of paradises or whatever they're called. They're invasive species from that lanternfly. So I cut those down, and then I get a notice saying that I'm cutting down forestry, which is actually invasive. Yet here we are about to deforest an entire forest of the historical site of war. So I implore you all to truly consider what you're about to make here and what representation that's going to be of yourselves. Other than that, I appreciate your time. Thank you everybody for coming here tonight.
K-E-L-L-I-N, Bob McKellen.
Hi, I'm Bob McKellen, M-C-K-E-L-L-I-N, capital K. 2166 Kistler Avenue. I talked before. I don't have a whole lot more to say except I noticed a few things and I wanted to bring them up. The President mentioned that he was happy that the current council had the fortitude to make this change. I don't think the change has to happen. RA is RA, and we should stay with trees and beautiful land. It doesn't have to be changed. It's up to you guys, and I know by hearing that, you've already made up your mind, and that's very disappointing. I also heard an admission that the planning commission of Lower Saucon Township gave its approval. Well, 2 of the members of council are on the planning commission, so that I don't agree with either. And that shouldn't weigh into it. Radioactive waste is still coming into this thing every month, and that needs to stop, and it stops by you guys saying no. RA is where it should stay, and that's it. Done.
McLaren, MC, capital CLA, RIN.
Matthew McLaren, 2198 Riverside Drive. MAT 2198 Riverside Drive. MATTHEW MCC LARIN. I think I'm going to start, Mr. Bernona started from reading from a magazine. And I'm going to start with reading from some case law about certain zoning decisions within Pennsylvania. And one, I'm going to start with this. Our Supreme Court has held where zoning was enacted to accommodate the plans of one landowner and was not enacted to enhance the public's health, safety, morals, and general welfare, there was no justification for the differential treatment of land, and therefore the rezoning constituted spot zoning. Now, when I'm looking at this map in front of us, it has a stamp on the bottom left-hand corner. That's specifically from Martin & Martin. That is the landfill's engineering firm. You know who adopted this map was the landfill. They gave the township this map. And what I've heard here tonight is not a debate on whether, what's best for our community or anything else. What I've heard here is very, very little thought put into this. This was handed on a silver platter to our council, to our township, and it's exactly what that company who was here wants. And there's no denying that. The portion on the west, that little sliver there, is wide. So the landfill can save money, so they don't have to remove that trash to cap that portion properly. That's the only reason that sliver's on there. That sliver to the north, that property to the north, that would never be zoned LI. It doesn't even have access along Riverside Drive. There's no access to that whatsoever. None. Zero. I would honestly debate where the text amendments even came from. I would like to know where the drafts of the text amendments came from, because I guarantee you they probably came from the landfill. And if anyone in this audience thinks that it's the best interest for us to draft zoning amendments and map amendments and text amendments and get those from a company versus our own idea. 7 years ago, I sat in the same position away from my family all the time. And we started an economic development committee. What has become of that in this township? That was 7 years ago. And the best thing that you can present the township to the people here is a map that was supplied by the landfill. We have $8 million sitting in an account to preserve open space all over this township. $8 million our tax money has gone to. And we sit here and we're debating whether we should rezone 275 acres of RA land. RA was put here to preserve and protect the land that's there. And for the excuses of that there isn't going to be no more LI in this township. Well, I have a sorry fact for you. It was this decision of this council and everybody else that landfill use that land. There is nothing else that can be done. Let's look out all over the other parts of the township.
Mr. McLaren, your time is up for 3 minutes. I'd like you to wrap up this.
Okay, I'm going to say one more thing. Okay? That I hope everybody in this room becomes an objector. The next course of action in this is to pretty much take this to the zoning hearing board. If not, then we take it to Pennsylvania and the Pennsylvania Supreme Court. And I believe there's a good case that this isn't sound zoning. This is basically a spot zoning for one particular property owner. Thank you.
Adam Callen, ATONKALLEN. I live on Roberts Avenue. Good evening. The 3 minutes is not near enough time to fully address this issue, so I will be brief. Continuing with this rezoning proposal would be a dangerous mistake. Granting the landfill's request would be rewarding an act of bad faith. For years, they have assured us that they have no desire to expand. I sat in this very room, and they said it. Removing rigorous zoning oversight of these properties means entrusting responsible development of the land to the very people who claimed they have no intention of developing it in the first place. If I want to build a tool shed, install a pool, or widen a driveway, I need zoning approval. Clear cutting a forest and dumping decades worth of garbage should require safeguards no less strict. Rezoning and expansion are not in the interests of the township in general. The landfill's eventual closure has been a long time coming. The township and its residents have planned and are prepared for the change in the township's revenue stream, and temporary benefits to expansion do not outweigh long-term benefits of keeping the land zone as it is. It's the wrong thing to do for the residents of Steel City. We will be sacrificing all of the time and money that have gone into the village for temporary gain. Steel City is home to hundreds of families, several businesses, and a church. Expanding the landfill will lead to devaluation of the properties, the endangering of health, and the inevitable exodus, which itself increases the likelihood of further expansion as the land becomes undesirable. My family has lived in Steel City for generations, and we would like to continue doing so for generations to come. It would risk the health of the Lehigh River from runoff, ruin the serenity of the DNR Trail, and alienate our neighbors in Freemansburg and Bethlehem. It is the opposite of responsible land management, a terrible investment, and a guaranteed risk to the lives and property of township residents. The rezoning and expansion must not be allowed to proceed. People and green spaces contribute. Landfills only expand. We are and must remain Penn's Woods, not Penn's garbage dump. Thank you.
USTAC.
My name is Susan Eustace, SUSAN-EUSTACE, and I live at 1931 Gordon Avenue. Mr. Panonis, earlier when you were reading from your magazine, you spoke negatively about how other councils punt this decision to their zoning board, but that is exactly what I think you should do. Lower Saucon Township has a zoning map, which was adopted over 20 years ago, and according to our Lower Saucon website, we also have a zoning board that's comprised of 5 members. The purpose of this board is to carry out the provisions of our township zoning ordinance according to the zoning map and encourage appropriate land use. This includes considering changes in zoning. So why is the Lower Saucon Council becoming involved in this rezoning issue? This seems like an issue best addressed by the governing body assigned with this responsibility, our zoning hearing board. Their primary purpose is to consider these types of issues. Why would you, council, want to, quote, exempt landfills and waste disposal facilities from site plan approval process and requirements, which would be required by the zoning board? In the ordinance you're considering, it's stated that you will adopt the amendments to the zoning map and the text of the code if you have determined that the changes are, quote, in the best interest of the public health, safety, and welfare of citizens of Lower Saucon Township. Well, I'm a citizen of Lower Saucon Township, and I'm here to tell you that changing the zoning to make it easier and quicker for the landfill to expand is not in my best interest. Landfills are not known for being healthy. So this begs the question, whose interests are you serving here? Are you serving me, the citizen, or are you serving the landfill? Why are you even involving yourselves in this issue at all? I have my own suspicions. If the landfill seeks to expand, they should follow due process and complete a site plan approval report, then submit it to the zoning board, just like any other entity that was requesting a zoning change. And it should be the zoning board's responsibility to consider any changes, not council's responsibility. One last thing. According to the fee structure on the Lower Saucon website, in their attempts to alter the current zoning map, the landfill should also pay the township a rezoning application fee of $1,000 with $5,000 in escrow. Perhaps that money could be put toward an audiovisual system which could be used to broadcast future council meetings. Thank you.
Bonham. My address is 4303 Jefferson Avenue. So I spoke earlier today. I will reiterate that while I have been a longtime resident of Steel City, and I grew up and my childhood was all along the Lehigh River, and viewing that, I left after college. After work, I spent 4 to 6 weeks here. And I'm like, why is this dirty? Why is there trash everywhere on the side of the road? Why isn't it being about doing the proper studies and analysis was so valuable? You haven't done your homework, and I don't know if you even care to. And I also have to say, it's clear that only one of you live in Steel City. Because if the rest of you did, you would realize, I will finish up my statement, if the rest of you did, you would realize how detrimental it is. There's times I'm like, girls, come inside because it stinks outside. They can't swim in the pool. You are mismanaging this. There are better ways to manage waste. Burying trash is honestly an old way of dealing with this. Put energy, time, money, and resources into finding more innovative ways of dealing with this.
It's over 3 minutes, and I'll give you another 30 seconds. So
sure, one more thing. We will fight this, and we will fight your decisions.
Thank you.
Would you repeat that?
Lean, P-L-E-A-M, lean. Okay. Rit Kondravi, K-O-N-D-R-A-V-Y.
Hi, my name is Brittany Kondravi. That's spelled B-R-I-T-N-Y. Kondravi, K-O-N as in Nancy, D as in David, R-A-V as in Victor, Y. There's some address. Okay. All right. If you change the zoning from rural agricultural to light industrial, you will change more of the two-dimensional labels on that map, which fails to capture the area's connected forest, steep slopes, and vital viewshed. If you approve the correct request to rezone, you will change the character, culture, and conservation value of this community that I treasure so much. The area in question is one of only 2 along the Lehigh River that contains greater than 250 acres of forested land. One of only 2. Forests provide the highest natural system services on a per acre basis. They help ensure that we have access to clean air, clean water, and that wildlife has connected habitat with food and shelter. I understand that you have an entire budget to consider, but please know that the ecosystem services provided by these parcels do translate into dollars. In fact, Pennsylvania has the 6th largest outdoor recreation economy in the entire country. As stated by Discover Lehigh Valley, our local metropolitan planning organization, nature and outdoor recreation is consistently cited as the 2nd highest reason for visiting this region, just under friends and family. I do work at the Delaware and Lehigh National Heritage Corridor, so I get to see the benefits of outdoor recreation, conservation, environmental protection firsthand. It's one of the ways that we're able to capitalize on those benefits and build things like trail-friendly towns and businesses. If you're interested in exploring that option, we'd be more than happy to work further with the municipality, so please consider this as you're considering the future of our community, I'd like you to take advantage of those opportunities, and I'd like it to be on record that I'm opposed to this rezoning and to the landfill expansion. And I urge you to have the fortitude to maintain the RA zoning as it stands. And I also hope that you notice the fortitude of this community who is standing in solidarity right now against rezoning and against the landfill expansion. And I hope you continue to have the fortitude to stay here tonight and support each other as we make our voices heard. Thank you.
Larry Sutton. All right. Next is Chris Burrow, Guro. Chris Burrow.
Christine Burrow, CHRISTINE, Burrow, GURO, 2188 Silver Creek Road in Millerton. As I said before, I'm opposed to rezoning this property. Don't trash the conservation easement. Let's do our part to protect and improve the Lehigh and Delaware rivers and all the life it supports. We don't, this is what I wrote
Can you move
earlier.
closer to the mic, please?
Sure. We don't need another Superfund site in the area like the old Champion Spark Plug plant. I wrote that and then I realized we have one, it just hasn't been named yet. That landfill hasn't been named a Superfund site, but it sure sounds like it will be one day, and now we want to expand it. So anyway, let's leave a legacy of clean air, clean water, and a forested mountain for generations to come. And the landfill said that they expected if the expansion eventually goes through, that they would be adding 20 to 30 years of landfill life, their projection. What's to stop them from applying to the DEP to accept extra tonnage and take tons and tons more of garbage from New York and New Jersey, and landfill closes in 5 or 10 years? I mean, there's just, there's no guarantee that it will be open that long for us to get income from. And once the forest is gone, it's gone forever. And instead we will have a dead, toxic, perhaps radioactive mountain of waste for eternity. Sometimes in life you have to take a short-term loss for a long-term gain. This will be a forever gain if we can stop this from happening, instead of having forever chemicals in our air and water. We do not need the tax revenue from the Bethlehem Landfill. We have a surplus each year for the last few years.
I'm sorry, we have the surplus what?
We have a surplus each year for the last few years. Tell the landfill that we can't be bought.
Thank you. Nelson Fuentes, Fuentes. Okay, next is Lisa Albitz, Albitz. Lisa Albitz.
Hello, my name is Lisa Albitz, Lisa Albitz. I own 16 acres on the corner of Reddington Road on the really sharp corner. I bought that property about 10 years ago, and I was, the first thing that I did was make sure that the open space ordinance covered my property. And I was so proud to own 16 acres of open space property. So it's a little weird for me to be here 10 years later talking about deforesting 275 acres. That's 1.5 miles from my property. So I have a concern that we're going to talk about getting rid of 275 acres of RA zone land and change it to LI, which has, by deforesting, there's an environmental impact. Adding the landfill is a double whammy. We're a few days away from 2023. Why are we talking about landfills, which is 1900s technology? Why are we not talking about zero impact to the environment, zero waste incinerators that are available? When I lived in Jersey almost 15 years ago, I was on a committee there to buy one of those incinerators. So why are we here talking about taking away 275 acres for landfill when that's old technology and there's brand new technology available that has less impact? I'd like to say that I'm opposed to the change in the ordinance, and I would really wish we could put our money and our time into finding a better solution. Thank you.
Thank you. Kathy Pitchell, McGovern, MC Capital, GOV. All right, our next is Bob Lasko, BLASKO, Bob Lasko.
Blasco, B-L-A-S-K-O, 2510 Reddington Road. That's right where Riverside turns into Reddington, and then it cuts to go up over the hill. Jim Petrie is a good friend of mine. Just this afternoon at 12:49 p.m., the Lehigh Valley News posted an article on this subject. Several of the things that were brought up was that the landfill reps are not the ones that asked for zoning changes. However, they did say they would not object, which to me brings up the question, who did ask for the changes? Council? That's first. Second, it was stated earlier that without expansion, the landfill could not continue more than 6 years. But I didn't hear anybody say the other fact that goes along with that. They also stated that with the expansion, they could go on for decades, however you want to pronounce it. 10, 20, 30, 40, who knows how many. Zoning changes would give council a free hand. It would be the proverbial fox in the henhouse. If no changes, or if there are not changes, and the changes are superficial, as you say, why do you need these changes? You then stated that it's not just about landfill that you want these changes. Well, that's correct, because this would then open the floodgate to all businesses to apply for this and to receive this kind of treatment. I am opposed to any changes in zoning. I lived in North Saucon Township, will be 16 years in January. January 7th, as a matter of fact, because for me and my family, it's kind of an anniversary of ours. I'd like to thank my neighbors for coming, for being articulate, for being patient. One question that has been asked several times tonight is why now? Why now? Let's think about this. Because $75,000 was donated by the landfill owner to get 3 candidates elected to this council. And he named them: Jason Bononis, Thomas Carucci, Jennifer Savacki, who has since resigned. One of the candidates even said that they felt that this money impacted the election of them getting on. Ranking top political consultants in PA, the top 50, the Mercury VP stated that one of his biggest accomplishments was sweeping the Lower Saucon Council.
You reached the 3-minute limit. Thank you.
No longer.
Okay. Evan Needham.
Spoke already, yes.
Okay. Steve Bartholomew. Steve Bartholomew. Okay. Amber Rose Palos. Amber Rose Palos. Kurt Balch. Kurt Balch. B-A-L-C-H.
Cool. Good evening, Kurt Balch, that's Charlie Uncle Romeo Tango, Bravo Alpha Lima Charlie Hotel. Seems like just yesterday I was here with you guys. Really just incredible. But, you know, sitting here, I've noticed a lot of things. I really noticed how we all listened in rapt attention as Priscilla made all the cases and concerns that she had against the zoning change. But I also listened very intently when Mr. Bononis made his case, and there was a little bit of a hubbub and a little whispering and rumbling, and we may not have heard him very well in making his arguments. And like I said, I voted for the man, so I wanted to listen because I want to hear the side. What did my vote get me? And I heard probably the most interesting thing I've heard all night, and it was that the reason we have to consider looking at rezoning rural agricultural property in this township is because of the wild underrepresentation of light industrial in this township. And by darn, if we don't do that, what is stopping corporations from buying rural agricultural property and then expecting it to be rezoned? Oh, wait a second. So, I got to live a lot of places, some interesting places, courtesy of the United States Army. One of those places was Georgia. I learned a lot of good stuff in Georgia. I learned two of my favorite phrases, and I never get to use them together. I get to use them tonight. Bless your heart, but that dog won't hunt. You're telling me that we have to create more light industrial space for rural agricultural so corporations don't ask us to make more light industrial space out of rural agriculture. No, I'm sorry, not hunting. Now, I intimated earlier that we might have some Hallmark holiday villains in front of us here. I don't know about y'all, but I've been watching a few of those movies, courtesy of my wife back here. I'm not a fan, but I don't want everyone to get an idea that that was disparaging comment. And the reason is because while some of those movies, the bad guy gets their comeuppance in the end, the really nice thing about those movies is the majority of them are stories of redemption. And I'll tell you what, I probably watched about 30 different hackneyed versions of A Christmas Carol, and I'll tell you what, Scrooge only got 3 spirits to help him see the light of day. I haven't been counting, but I think we had over 100 souls talk tonight. And I'll tell you what, folks, I think it would be a wonderful Christmas miracle, I can only assume it's why the meeting is tonight, if you could look into your hearts and see that this is the right time to throw open the doors and buy the township that Christmas goose instead of going at the ways of rezoning beautiful property into a landfill. So again, folks, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.
John Holsize, H-O-L-S-I-Z-E.
John Holsize, John-H-U-L-S-I-Z-E-R. I live at 2085 Johnston Avenue, Steel City. Been there about 26 years. When we first bought our home, we had friends over there, and we showed concern about the dump. They said, don't worry about it. It's running out of space. It'll be closed in 5 years. 5 years went by, and we stood, not quite right here, we stood in the other building over there. And we stood like this, because there were so many people there. And as the meeting went on, and the council that was there then, I don't think there's anybody here for that.
For the rezoning.
The council stood there. By the way, I do oppose the rezoning, so we get that out. As we stood there, everybody had their little moment in the sun, and council said, okay, we're done talking about this. We're not going to take any more comments on it. Lo and behold, over there on the side, the lawyer from the dump stands up and says, we won't rezone that little section. We won't put any garbage down there. We'll keep it the way it is forever. We won't do it. Lo and behold, they didn't. 4 years later, they sold the dump and the next company come in and mowed it all down. Now, is that what's going to happen to us again? Are we going to get force-fed more garbage? I hope not. I'm running out of time, but I got a couple other little problems. I travel Apple Butter Road quite a bit. If anybody else in the township would leave as much mud on that road as that dump does, that gentleman and that gentleman would be knocking at the door. This is appalling. I drove through there with a white pickup truck 3 months ago. When I came out, it looked like the beams in this building. The stones, this big, lay up and down Riverside Drive. Not Riverside Drive, Apple Butter Road. They're getting caught in the duals of those tractor trailers. I followed one night down through there. Da-dum, da-dum, da-dum. I could see the rock wedged in the doors, and the driver frankly didn't give a shit as he made the right on the Shimersville Road. I'm out of time. Thank you, everybody. Everybody have a happy holiday.
Staying in the dump for revenue. You know, our township's beautiful. We don't want to wreck it more. It's just going to that's going to expand for another 100 years after that. We all go down to Reddington Road, and people are going to have to sell their houses after you develop that. It's the next spot going down. It's just going to keep growing until you run to the I-78 or you run to the river. You can't buy anymore. I worked for PennDOT I worked for a consulting company, and they sold me to PennDOT. My bosses knew I lived in Steel City. Every time it rained, hey, can you run out there and look at all the crap that came down on the road? When I went there and talked to the people at the dump, they were mad at me. They acted like I made this stuff come down the road. The rain did. I said, hey guys, you gotta clean this up. They come in there with a dozer and wrecking the road. And I said, hey guys, you gotta do it the right way. You're not coming in there with a dozer and scrape our road up. They had no intention of doing it correct. They just wanted to get that off there. I was taking pictures. The guy tried to grab my camera. I'm standing in my hard hat and vest. These guys that have no safety equipment on, no flag men. People are driving through 2 foot of mud trying to get to the road. No consideration of making it right. All they cared about was cleaning it up before DEP called. Naturally, I had to report to my bosses. We had to call DEP. I had to show them the pictures. That landfill looks like the same for the last 30 years. They haven't put any dirt over it. It's all rubber. If they would have at least maintained the thing, but they don't even maintain it. There were so many little bags of people's stuff when their dog or their cat goes to the bathroom. That's what washed down over the road. There must have been thousands of these little bags. They don't cover their dirt. They can't maintain the hills. If they put dirt on the hill, it's going to wash right down. That's why they have the rubber liners there. They had no intention of ever keeping that landfill. They just worry about cash. They don't care about keeping the environment clean. I had to call DEP probably 100 times in 13 years since I worked there. It's just, you know, it's impossible to keep the landfill
Sir, your 3 minutes are up, and allow you to finish this thought.
Well, I think you guys should just work together with the zoning and the planning and come up with a better idea with something else. Don't wreck the woods, you know, make something work in our township. We don't want that.
Thank you.
Good job.
My name is Lynn Bell, that's Lynnhill. I live on Boston West Road in Saucon Township. These proposed zoning changes that I'm opposed to are numerous and radical, involving changing 275 acres, not just from rural agricultural, but to light industrial, but also changing the definition of light industrial to include landfills. Landfills are not light industrial. Landfills they cause irreparable harm to the environment. Enormous permanent environmental impact compared to the other businesses near it that the landfill owners equate with their own business. These ordinances also enable the landfill to bypass the regular site approval process, and it allows the landfill to be exempt from the net buildable space rules. It's completely inappropriate. Our township can afford to operate without the revenue from this landfill. We currently have about $2 million a year in budget surpluses that are going into capital funds, special funds, etc. According to the township's proposed 2023 budget and the accompanying financial statements, the combined year-end cash total of all these funds is in excess of $25 million. This is a large nest egg for a township with an $8 or $9 million budget per year. We're a wealthy township with a high per capita tax base that generates abundant income for the township, along with other sources, to keep it solvent without the landfill. The proposed zoning changes are not in the best interests of the township and its residents. The changes are in the best interest of other parties, namely New York, New Jersey, that send their garbage here, Bethlehem sewage plant, Bucks County, Montgomery County, and of course, ultimately the shareholders of Waste Connections, the parent company of this landfill. The landfill hosting fees come at a great cost to the residents nearby, to the property values, the township's reputation, risk of illness, pollution, litigation, and irreparable environmental impact. The costs and risks greatly outweigh the benefits. The proposed zoning changes violate existing covenants. There's 208 acres within that proposed zoning change that are currently conservation easements. So this would destroy, changing these covenants would destroy the reputation, credibility, and integrity of the township and its leaders. The residents, neighbors,
3 minutes.
2 sentences. Residents, neighbors, potential buyers, and other stakeholders rely heavily on existing zoning ordinances and on conservation district covenants. These are promises that people rely on. They rely on this information to make major financial decisions regarding the largest investments in their lives. That would be their homes. I'm opposed to this. Thank you.
WELLS.
Thank you. My name is Robert Wells, ROBERTWELLS, and I've been a resident in Lower Saucon for some time. I own a home on 2134 Saucon Avenue. For the record, I'm opposed to any zoning change that would allow the expansion of the landfill. I'm absolutely opposed to deletion of landfills from the special exception use classification. I'm opposed to landfills not being subject to a site plan, and I'm opposed to allowing a landfill to damage Lower Saucon natural resources, period. This is not my first trip here. I know back in 2013, I spent many, many nights with some of you for hours and hours and hours on end to defeat the first attempt to expand the landfill to the west of the current location. At that point, they had bought all of those properties, probably contingent on the landfill being approved, and then they attempted to move that to the west. They didn't have the political support, they certainly didn't have community support, and we all kind of celebrated for a little while, but I think we all knew that we were going to see this happen again. We were going to see it happen with another company, with a new name, and renewed political support. Interestingly, they still have the same attorney, and it is the same company, it's just a different name. I have a lot of things to say today, but I'm going to switch tracks. My expertise is in real estate. I have 14 real estate companies in New York, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania. We're the number 50 real estate company of 47,600 in the U.S. Expanding this landfill is kind of like dropping a neutron bomb on property values here. The people will live, but the property values will suffer greatly. And I don't even know if the people will live with the same quality of life, because I think they're probably going to end up sicker in the long run because of it. Even back in 2013, IESI knew that they were going to destroy the property values. They even agreed to buy our houses if we couldn't sell them on expansion of the landfill. The contract they gave us said they would only use properties within Steel City as comparables for the value of our properties, which basically means they pay us what they would pay anyone that was getting in Steel City. And all of the properties would be affected adversely by what was happening. So we obviously, we're not interested in that. We're not interested in it today. I ask that the people that have the ability to make a decision that's in the best interest of our community do so. I think it's clearly obvious what the people of Lower Saucon Township want to happen, and it's in direct opposition to what IESI, or whatever they call themselves now, would like to see happen. So thank you for your time. I'm a 4 a.m. guy, so I understand your commitment of being here at 11 a.m. or p.m.
Thank you. Frank Fabian.
Frank Fabian, F-R-A-N-K, F-A-B-I-A-N, 2521 Easton Road. I'd like to go on the record stating that I'm opposed to the expansion of the Bethlehem Landfill, and I'm extremely opposed to rezoning and removal of the special exception status for the landfill. Decisions that affect the citizens of the township need to follow all the due process and not be relegated to a political decision. I think that's very important to the residents of the township. I'm also concerned about the toxic and radioactive materials that have been reported as being in the landfill. I'm within a quarter mile of I-78, and I see the trucks just sitting up there as the wind blows across the tops of it. So I know we're probably getting doused with all kinds of toxic aerosols and airborne material that's being blown off of those trucks. And for those reasons, I definitely do not support rezoning, do not support the expansion of the landfill, and I really think that it's time for the landfill to come to its conclusion and basically be retired. I'm basically asking all of you, our elected officials and caretakers of this township, to reject rezoning this. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Melinda Fabian, M-E-L-I-N-D-A. Fabian is a Frank, A-B-I-A-N, 2521 Eastern Road. I want to go on the record and say that I am opposed to allowing approval for the landfill to expand. I'm opposed to making this landfill a conditional use instead of a special exception. I'm opposed to having the previous environmental protections removed. I'm opposed to eliminating the township site plan approval process. I'm opposed to rezoning from RA to light industrial. I'm opposed to allowing the creation of natural resource mitigation alternative. I feel that the expansion of the landfill will be a catastrophic activity to the quality of life for our residents, to our land and the environment. The land has steep slopes, a stream, forest, lots of animals and plants. We have the right to clean air, clean water, and land. I'm very concerned about the health effects of this landfill, harmful, stinky, high levels of methane gas. I'm sorry, harmful, stinky, high levels of methane gas, which you can smell at Ringhoffer and Applebottom Road, sewage sludge, industrial chemicals, pharmaceuticals, radioactive materials, 190 contaminants of concern, CDC, are already happening at this landfill. Imagine if it doubled in size. Asthma, lung issues, cancers, childhood illnesses, leukemia are just some of the health issues that could possibly be increased or could possibly already be affecting residents. Will this be the next cancer cluster or the next Superfund site in the Lehigh Valley? I'm very concerned about the well water safety. What studies are being done to protect our citizens and their health? If even one person is harmed from this landfill, that is one too many. Could you really live with yourselves if you knew your decisions that you made about this landfill caused harm to another human being? Also, this is not just a Lower Saucon problem. Every month, 3,000 trucks are carrying not just everyday household trash, but all that stuff I just mentioned down I-78. 60% of them are coming from New York and New Jersey. So the next time you drive on I-78, think about what you and your family are being exposed to. I hope and pray there's never an accident. All these people living in Pennsylvania along these routes need to be involved. It's not just a Steel City issue. Sometimes trucks are driving down Eastern Road or Lower Saucon Road. Maybe one day garbage trucks will also be driving down Black River Road or some other part of Lower Saucon. Lower Saucon was smart to pay off all their debt because they knew the landfill needed to close. 3 years in a row, Lower Saucon has a surplus of over $2 million, so taxes will definitely not have to be raised. So the landfill must close now. We have millions There is no positive reason to have a landfill. There is absolutely no reason to allow this to move forward. What do you want your legacy to be? Think about how proud you could feel if you closed the landfill, created green spaces, improved our environment, animals, clean water, streams, and most importantly, you did your very best to keep your residents safe and healthy. Now that would be something amazing to be proud of and to brag about to your children, to your grandchildren, that you were the council that ordered this landfill to close. You fought against the big business and we won.
Ma'am, your 3 minutes to thank you. Victoria Octon Cordero, C.
Good evening, my name is Victoria, that's Victoria. Last name is Opthof-Cordaro. First, I want to preserve for the record that 3 minutes is insufficient to review all of the relevant and important issues that we need to review here before we make a decision on the health, safety, and welfare of our township. So I hope that we consider having another hearing by which everybody can put those things on the record, and that perhaps you would consider as your duty for our residents that you actually get your own independent studies instead of relying on what the landfill provides to you in order to sweep this through on the eve of Christmas. First, the PA Municipalities Planning Code requires that zoning ordinances shall provide for protection of natural and historic features and resources. The proposed amendment fails to do so because the proposed rezoning will allow an industrial use in an area of high priority natural resources in its review of the proposed zoning amendments. The Lehigh Valley Planning Commission has submitted a letter, and that should be made a part of this record, that clearly indicates why this is against our own planning. The proposed zoning amendment is not consistent with the relevant municipal and multi-municipal comprehensive plans, including the plan, Our Resources, Our Valley, multi-municipal comprehensive planning in Pennsylvania, Saucon Valley. The PA Municipalities Planning Code, Section 603 states, zoning ordinances adopted by municipalities shall be generally consistent with the municipal or multi-municipal comprehensive plan, or where none exists, the municipal statement of community development objectives and the county comprehensive plan. If a municipality amends its zoning ordinance in a manner not generally consistent with its comprehensive plan, it shall concurrently amend its comprehensive plan in accordance with Article 3. Because the proposed zoning amendment is not generally consistent with the relevant comprehensive plans, the zoning amendment cannot be approved without concurrent amendment of the Township Municipal Comprehensive Plan. I have not seen any studies that this township has done in order to even consider rezoning 275 acres. I also want to make sure that the record is clear of the relevant exhibits that need to be made a part of this record. The proposed changes of the zoning map attached to the proposed ordinance is as Exhibit A, available on Lower Saucon's website. I have a sheet here, and I'm probably not going to get through it in the next 20 seconds, so I'm going to submit the sheet, which includes 26 relevant exhibits that need to be entered into this record. I have 3 documents here that are relevant, which is 1, the campaign finance report of the Super PAC, which dumped $75,000 of garbage into this election that we had in 2021. I also am submitting the court order of Judge Murray in 2022, which dismissed a defamation action that some of you council members have brought forward to me to try and silence the fact that the landfill has put $75,000 into this election. So those are the exhibits that I am submitting in addition to what's on this paper, and I will provide that to the stenographer so that it can be made a part of this record this evening. Thank you.
Pastor Lawson, no. David Panucci.
David Panucci. David Panucci, D-A-V-I-D-P-A-N-N-U-C-C-I. Dave Panucci, I'm regional engineer with Waste Connections Bethlehem Landfill. I'll make a brief statement on behalf of Bethlehem Landfill. Comprehensive state and federal regulations that govern municipal waste landfills have been carefully crafted and are revised as new technology develops to minimize the impacts on surrounding communities. We are not permitted to and do not accept hazardous waste. We have a radiation management plan also approved by the Department of Environmental Protection, which governs how we must monitor radioactive material and the specific steps we must take if such material is detected, including isolation of the material, agency and municipal notification, and removal and/or disposal, depending on the isotope that is detected. Oversight over our operations is both extensive and rigorous. If the map and text amendments are adopted, a specific and detailed expansion plan will be engineered, which will then be subject to many, many layers of rigorous review and approval by both the Township and the Department of Environmental Protection. Adopting the proposed zoning ordinance amendments is just the first step to that process. And as mentioned, a lot of the studies and evaluations will be conducted throughout that process that were mentioned here tonight. Thank you for the opportunity to speak and consideration.
Thank you. The list of residents and taxpayers who are interested in speaking. Is there anyone else who didn't sign the list that wants to speak? All right, having heard from no one, I will make a motion.
You had said that, let's see here, that, well, I disagree with what you were saying because here's an LI zone right here, which is not filled by any active landfill. Did you forget about that?
I didn't say anything about that.
All I'm saying is that they said that we're limited because the landfill, they did say that, right? Yeah, I know, but he forgets. Anyway, there's a strip of other land that goes down along Rincon Road that's also zoned for light industrial. So let's not forget that. Bethel Landfill, again, I'm going to reiterate on October 22nd, read the minutes, it's all in there. That should be part of the record. I'd like to take that part of the record because they did offer, and they came in here on a silver plate and handed Blake the map and the text amendment. And they did that. So for you to sit there and say that we all of a sudden came up with this is a lie.
So I didn't say that.
Well, come on, man.
I did not say that. No, I'm tired of this. I'm going to make a point for the record, okay? What I said earlier was this zoning ordinance has nothing to do with a landfill expansion application. We don't have one of those yet. Would this zoning ordinance, if adopted, permit them to file one? Yes, it would. But we don't have one in front of us right now. I never said I didn't get the map from the landfill. I never said I didn't discuss the text amendments with the landfill. I never said any of those things.
No, you did, and you should have. You should have said all that stuff. No, yeah,
Because you accused me of saying something that I did not say.
Whatever. So the exhibits, Mark, that we got for the letters from the people, are we going to read them? Or are we going to?
No, we're not reading them.
Are we going to identify at least who submitted the proposal?
They're part of the record.
And I'd like to know. Excuse me, but I'm asking a question. This is, excuse me? Can you read off who they came from for the support and the?
Mark, there's no need to read off the names. The names are part of the record, and all of the documents we submitted as part of the record.
That's fine. The record will reflect that. Also, I forgot to mention, because I was all in my studies, the 1991 ordinance resolution 1091 was passed to include the Reddington Historic District and the D&L. And that's, to me, very significant. And that goes back to, I know a resident was here talking about the Reddington Historic Communities, and it goes really back to the Spanish-American War, so it's even older than that.
Why did you go for all those landfill expansions over the years?
I'm sorry, I cannot hear you.
Tom.
I cannot hear you. Please use your microphone.
He's just muttering.
Okay, excuse me, I need to make a record, you cannot say you're just mumbling. Now, I am paid to make a record, so we need to use the microphone and not say blah, 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 blah.
But I'm speaking, so I have the floor, and if you don't mind, I don't appreciate that.
Still, please go on.
I will, let me.
I didn't interrupt you.
So,
Please, everybody.
we also don't know the value of any of the easements. I think that was significant from what people brought up. And we can vote either yes or no to the rezoning. This is different from a site plan or land development. This is rezoning, so we can vote yes or no. I'm disappointed that we can't at least put on the record or announce to the public who the letters were. Delaware Riverkeeper wrote an excellent letter. Bob Freeman wrote an excellent letter. And unfortunately, that won't be read, but you can find it on the internet, so. Can't read my writing. So anyway, and again, they said in their October, landfill said in their October stuff that this is the first step, and it was reiterated again by Mr. Dave, I forget your last name, Danucci, in his, I don't know. So that's all I'm gonna say.
All right, thank you. I believe that concludes the hearing. I'll make a motion to
Close it.
to close the hearing.
I'll second. I'll second.
Mr. Benonis, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Carucci, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ms. DeLeon, how do you vote?
Yes, to close the hearing.
Mr. Engels, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ms. Yerger, how do you vote?
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right, the next item on the agenda is consideration of the adoption of ordinance 2022-02. I'll make a motion to adopt. I'll make a motion to adopt ordinance 2022-02, revising chapter 180 zoning.
I'll second.
Mr. Carucci, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ms. DeLeon, how do you vote?
Absolutely not, no.
Mr. Engels, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ms. Yerger, how do you vote?
No.
Mr. Benonis, how do you vote?
Yes.
Motion passes 3-2.
Terrible.
Thank you, Sandy.
All right, we have other items that are on the agenda. We have developer items. Next are township business items. I anticipate at this point there may be some people in the audience who do not have interest in our remaining items on the agenda. In case I'm going to suggest we take a recess for 5 minutes to allow those people to orderly leave the room. And the 5 minutes off the motion to recess for 5 minutes. Have a second? One second.
Mr. Engels, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ms. Yerger, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Benonis, how do you vote?
Yes.
I didn't hear what was going on.
Reopening.
Yes.
Mr. Carucci, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ms. DeLeon?
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right, we do not have any developer items tonight. We have township business items. The first item is the township building meeting room audio visual upgrade.
All right, I've been working with Vistacom, which is a local company in Allentown, to set up the room with audio-visual capabilities. Initially, I did visual, and then during one of our last meetings, audio really shown its true color. So they'll be able to reuse and re-modify and program our Creston touchscreen. Looking to upgrade our microphones, and Vistacom will give us some test microphones so that we can try out microphones to see which ones we like. There'll be 2 cameras, one in the front of the room, one in the back of the room. The recording hardware. We're also going to replace the 2 wireless microphones that do not work anymore that the township had. There'll be 10 microphones for the council at the table. 4 new speakers out over the room so people can hear better. And then other accessories. They will also be coming to meetings after this audio and visual upgrade is complete to monitor the room and make any changes that need to be made to the system. And I'll also have the ability to give microphones more volume if we need and other things which we do not have at this time. This is a CoStars, Vistacom is a CoStars company. Sorry. All right. So the quote is $41,953.
That was the question I had, is gone out to bid, but it was through CoStars?
Yeah, this is through CoStars.
That's in the budget?
The budget has $40,000 in it for next year.
So is this coming out of this year's or next year?
This will be out of next year's budget.
So like, when are they gonna start? If we
Well,
approve this.
if we approve it,
this.
they'll start as soon as they get the equipment. So I'd say probably within 3 months.
Thank you for too long.
So is that a motion for approve?
I'll make a motion to approve the quote from Vistacom to upgrade the township meter audio and visual equipment in the amount of $41,953.
I'll say 21.
41,000.
I'll say.
Ms. Sugar, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Benonis, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Croce, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ms. DeLeon, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Engels, how do you vote?
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right, next up on the agenda is the authorization for payment release number 3 to Desco for the Lower Saucon Road culvert replacement project.
Yes, Hanover has reviewed this. It's recommending payment number 3 to Desco in the amount of $42,822.20.
I'll make, unless there's any questions or comments from council, I'll make a motion to provide payment number 3 to Desco in the amount of $42,822.20 for the work on the Lower Saucon culvert replacement.
Second.
Mr. Benonis, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Croce, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ms. DeLeon, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Engels, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ms. Sugar, how do you vote?
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right, next on the agenda is approval to purchase the Ford F-250 utility truck.
So in the beginning of the year, the council approved the purchase of a utility body Ford truck, but with the demands on vehicles and such, Ford did not make enough vehicles this year, so they canceled all POs. Many townships are suffering the same problem. So the original truck price was $57,253. Both the body cost and the truck cost went up. The new cost is $68,692. It's approximately $11,439 more. We'd like to get this approved so that we can get it in the queue to be made in 2023. Last time, in the beginning of the year, we put the order in February, and we did not make the cut for that year. So we're hoping if we get it in early, we'll make the cut for 2023. So we have a price for the new truck of $49,516, and the utility body is $19,176.
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
Mr. Croce, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ms. DeLeon, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Engels, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ms. Yerger, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Benonis, how do you vote?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Mark, I would also suggest that for next year that we try to go ahead of the log jam in production. If there's equipment that we need in 2024, we may want to get that order in early so that we're not faced with the same delays.
Yep.
All right, that concludes the township business items. We have, next is miscellaneous business items, approval of the November 2022 financial reports.
I'll move for approval.
A second.
Ms. DeLeon, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Engels, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ms. Yerger, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Benonis, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Croce, how do you vote?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Before we move on, Kathy, since you're here, can you give us a brief update on the pension committee?
We did have a pension advisory committee in December. Basically, it's the same news as we've had previously. Markets have not changed, and they are looking at a reduction anticipated, even though we're not a little bit on the upturn. So we are looking at a negative loss for this year, offsetting the positives that we received from the year prior. We'll have our actuarial evaluation done next year that would encompass both years, and we'll move forward. We also notified that one of our public works employees that left, and some other housekeeping items, but primarily it was just a
status of our financial situation, which didn't look much better than it did 3 months ago.
Thanks, man. All right, council staff reports, Mark.
Nothing to report.
All right, junior council member is not here. Council reports, Mark.
Nothing.
Sandy? I was going to do an update on our accomplishments for the past year with the same time, and talk about that on January 1st.
Great.
Priscilla?
I just want to say Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, have a safe one. Have the staff, please relay that message to the staff. And I guess we'll see you when's the next meeting, January 3rd, 6:30.
Now, I'm going to save those pictures for more people here.
No, I'm not.
Okay, thank you. Link?
Just briefly, I think council got a copy. There was a letter that the Hellertown Library sent out today saying that libraries, they were not going to be able to offer library services to Lower Saucon Township residents in 2023 in the same fashion as they had before. I'm not quite sure what that means. But as of today, I have not received any notification from the Office of Commonwealth Libraries that would approve the Hellertown Area Library's state aid plan, which is where they indicated that they were not going to service us yet. So as of today, we're still in their service area. And that's what I have from the Hellertown Library. I also heard, although I did not confirm it directly with the Southern Lehigh Library, but evidently the Southern Lehigh Library indicated at its meeting last night that it was not going to turn Lower Saucon Township residents away, no matter what happened with the Hellertown Library on January or December 31st. Again, have not confirmed that with the Southern Lehigh Library, and I'm not quite sure what that phrase means either, but that was what was reported.
Thank you. Anything else?
No, that's it.
All right, we're up to public comment on non-agenda items, residents and taxpayers only. 3-minute time limit. The first name on the list is Larry Optoff. Larry Optoff. Next name is Russell Sutton. Next is Amber Rose Palos. Jason Palos. Kurt Balch. And Mark Oziwire, Oziwier.
Ozimek, that's me, but I really don't know what to comment on.
All right, thank you. All right, I think that concludes our business for tonight. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Can I just point out that we had posted the potential to have a meeting tomorrow, depending on what had happened this evening. That will not occur because we were able to finish this meeting tonight.
That's right. All right, motion to adjourn?
I'll second.
I'll make the motion. So you can second.
All right, second motion.
Mr. Engels, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Yerger, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Menounos, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Birch, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ms. Tizell, how do you vote?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
All right.